Hello, Jim Schwimmer here. Welcome to today's vlog. Today I want to talk about a little problem that our liberal friends are having. A problem actually that could have been avoided. This is a piece of advice that I've given a few times in past vlogs. The advice would be most helpful to our liberal friends, and that advice is to wait for facts. Don't jump to conclusions when something happens, because if you jump to a conclusion that turns out to be wrong later, you could have a problem. Our liberal friends are having a problem right now. They are not very happy. Go back to January 6th when, as I characterized it, protesters briefly occupied the Capitol building in Washington, D.C. This led to the second of two sham impeachments of former President Trump, saying that he incited an insurrection. Actually, now that I think of it, I don't think it was so much a matter of jumping to conclusions as being unable to resist the urge to create a narrative. In other words, knowing what the facts were, even if one could not admit it out loud or even to oneself, just to kind of compartmentalize it in someone's mind, a liberal's mind, in order to seize the opportunity to construct a narrative. And that's what we have right now. If you look at Washington, last time I checked, there was still a fence up around the whole Capitol building. It looks like the Gulag Archipelago. That's almost, except you don't have as much snow as was in Siberia, Soviet Siberia. But that's what it looks like. I believe the National Guard is still there, eating lousy food, guarding the Capitol. Against what? Now we're finding out, and our liberal friends are a little disappointed. As usual, let me give you a headline. I'm going to read a little bit of an article, and then I'll jump in with, I'll either jump in with my comments or I'll restrain myself and then come in at the end with my comments. Many Capitol rioters unlikely to serve jail time. And there's a subtitle: "The cases could embarrass the Biden administration, which has portrayed the January 6th siege as a dire threat to democracy." Again, well, as we're going to see here, it was not a siege. It was protesters occupying a Capitol, as has happened in various state capitals. The one that comes most to mind is the Wisconsin state capitol. I think it was some labor union members. Yeah, I believe it was the teachers union protesting a law that allowed, it gave teachers the choice of whether they wanted to be in a union or not. Once that choice was available, the vast majority, I believe 80%, don't hold me to that, but I believe it was 80% or very close to it, of the teachers in Wisconsin stopped paying dues to the union. They opted out of the union, so the teachers union in Wisconsin is not getting a lot of dues, and that's the main purpose of these unions, just to keep the union bosses in power by collecting dues and paying themselves high salaries. Well, that gravy train was derailed by Scott Walker, and the teachers union, I believe, or supporters, or just the teachers, they would have to be members of the union, or it doesn't make sense, occupied the Capitol. That is as I remember it. But there was an occupation of the state capitol in Wisconsin. Nobody called that an insurrection against the government of Wisconsin. But I just read to you this headline: "Many Capitol rioters unlikely to serve jail time," and the subtitle that it could embarrass the Biden administration. It could, or I should say should, embarrass Nancy Pelosi, the Speaker of the House, the person who is responsible for these fences and National Guard troops. It's costing a fortune. I heard a quote of $500 million. I don't know for what period of time that was, but we're already out, the American taxpayer, $500 million for this temporary occupation by protesters of the Capitol. Let me just quote from this article, and then I'll finish up, because the article pretty much describes what the situation. Americans outraged by the storming of Capitol Hill are in for a jarring reality check. Many of those who invaded the halls of Congress on January 6 are likely to get little or no jail time. Politico is the website that is reporting this story, and from which I got this article. A Politico analysis of the Capitol riot-related cases shows that almost a quarter of the more than 230 defendants formally and publicly charged so far face only misdemeanors. Dozens of those arrested are awaiting formal charges, even as new cases are being unsealed nearly every day. In recent days, judges, prosecutors, and defense attorneys have all indicated that they expect few of these, quote, MAGA tourists, unquote, to face harsh sentences. MAGA, Make America Great Again. And just to be sure or clear on my pronunciation, MAGA tourists, not MAGA terrorists, okay? MAGA tourists. There are two main reasons why these people are just only being charged with misdemeanors. Although prosecutors have loaded up their charging documents with language about the existential threat of the insurrection to the republic, the actions of many of the individual rioters often boil down to trespassing, and judges have wrestled with how aggressively to lump those cases in with those of the more sinister suspects. The prospect, and this is the good part, for a conservative, the prospect of dozens of January 6 rioters cutting deals for minor sentences could be hard to explain for the Biden administration, which has characterized the Capitol Hill mob as a uniquely dangerous threat. And again, Nancy Pelosi. She should be embarrassed, but of course, if you know anything about Nancy Pelosi from having watched her through two sham impeachments, that I don't think she's capable of embarrassment or shame. It just like water off the proverbial duck's back. She just ignores it and just goes on to the next embarrassment, which does not embarrass her. But getting back to the article, Justice Department prosecutors and Joe Biden and Nancy Pelosi set expectations sky high in early statements and court filings describing elaborate plots to murder lawmakers. Descriptions prosecutors have tempered as new details emerged. In other words, details just explaining or revealing that they're just trespassing. It was just misdemeanor trespassing, except for a few exceptions, possibly. We haven't had all the charges, but nothing like an insurrection. But back to the article. While violent assaults in the Capitol are rare, protests and acts of civil disobedience, such as disrupting congressional hearings or even House and Senate floor sessions, are more common. That means prosecutors and judges will have to weigh how much more punishment a Trump supporter who invaded the Capitol during the Electoral College count deserves than, say, an anti-war protester chanting at a CIA confirmation hearing or a gun control advocate shouting in the middle of the State of the Union address. And again, what happened at the Capitol, the deaths were tragic, but they were, well, the only deliberate death, somebody deliberately being killed, was a protester was killed by one of the Washington, D.C. cops, shot her in the neck, killed her. The rest were medical reasons or just accidental deaths, but it was not part of a quote-unquote insurrection. It was just the unfortunate result of having a lot of people in one place at one time, and that was the main difference to me, just the number of people. As I just read to you, you've seen it. The most recent example would be I don't know what happened during the Amy Coney Barrett confirmation hearing for the Supreme Court, but for Brett Kavanaugh, there were protests. There were people shouting from the galleries who had to be dragged out. They were few in number, but the principle is the same. It's the same thing. People coming in and disrupting a hearing. In this case, the January 6th case, the counting of electoral votes. But to leap from that to overthrowing the government, wanting to overthrow the entire government, I don't know how that would work. A bunch of unarmed people come in and make a lot of noise and break some furniture. I don't see how the president resigns or flees Washington as a former president did during the War of 1812. That's a real, it wasn't an insurrection, but that's about what you have to do to threaten the government. And the government still functioned. They just had to move for a while. But I digress. Prosecutors are facing pressure from judges to either back up their tough talk about sedition or put a lid on it. Michael Sherwin, the former lead January 6th prosecutor, found himself rebuked by other senior prosecutors and Judge Amit Mehta last week for publicly flirting with the possibility of sedition charges when none had actually been leveled. The appeals court ruling came amid increasing signs of judges' impatience. At least 5 January 6 defendants were released in recent days over prosecutors' objections. Quote, the judges are starting to have had enough of this. At a certain point, they're going to start making them do deals in these cases, unquote, the defense attorney said. That's the predicament that they're in. The Biden administration and Nancy Pelosi and other liberals, they're just trying to tar Trump supporters and conservatives like, well, I was going to say you and me, some of you and me. I hope some liberals are watching this because I welcome all points of view. I'm not like Twitter. I'm not like Facebook. I'm not going to ban you just for disagreeing with me. Whenever I have banned somebody, I get these. Sometimes it's spam. I get these, oh, that's some good advice if I can digress. If you see in the comments, sometimes you'll see just the name of a commenter and maybe a time, like 3 minutes, 10 seconds or something, and below that a very short URL, something like VOL dot, 2 letters and .com or something. It's scam. Don't click on that link. I'm telling you, don't click on that link. I think it just takes you to somebody else's vlog, somebody who started a vlog and is just trying to get somebody to go to the vlog. It could be just to advertise, just to get people to visit the vlog, which is not the way to do it. I don't do that. And it could also be a way to get information from you. Once you click that link, then whoever put up that link and put up that YouTube video could be using it as some kind of, I'm not a technical guy, some kind of fancy way to, or dishonest way to get information about you or to get a link to your passwords and things. So when you see a link, well, that's probably good advice in general. Just read the comments. If you see a link, if it looks suspicious at all, don't click on it. But probably best just don't click on it at all. But back to the story for today, or today's topic, that's the problem that these liberals are having. They're just trying to make the country hate, trying to make one half of the country hate the other half of the country, the half that I'm in, the conservative half, and just call us Nazis and fascists and people who want to tear down the government, radicals, whatever. You come up with your own term. So whenever there is a disturbance like this, they just say, oh, it's an insurrection. They just try to make it look so much worse than it is, and then the facts come out, and then they're embarrassed. And the very saddest part of this whole thing is that fence and these National Guardsmen that are blocking the Capitol at great expense to the taxpayer, and everybody pays taxes, not just conservatives. That's number one. But number two, all of that for what? For misdemeanor trespassing, to put us conservatives in a bad light. But I won't put you in a bad light. Not only will I not put you in a bad light, and this goes for liberals too, I will put everybody in a good light if you, especially those who, well, everybody who watches my vlog, I put you all in a good light, but especially those who give me a thumbs up if you like this video. Share with anybody you think would also like it. Got any comments? Comment section below the video. If you have any questions, suggestions for future topics, you can put those in the comment section too. You could subscribe. I love getting new subscribers. You can visit my food channel and my music channel. There are links in the description. No politics in either of those channels. And you can come back and see me again. I would love to see all of you. Oh, well, first of all, I appreciate the time that you spend with me. I really do appreciate it. And now I would love to see all of you again. I look forward to seeing all of you again. And until I do see all of you again, bye.